Golden Sound Story, Disney's Dumbo. It was winter, and Mr. Stork was delivering babies. He flew through the clouds, dropping off baby bears and kangaroos and hippos to their mothers. He didn't know it, but his last delivery was the most unusual of all. Some people would even say it was a miracle. Mr. Stork dropped out of the clouds and saw the circus train. Where he was to make his last delivery. Flying over the train, he found the elephant car. Inside, a group of lady elephants walked. Anxiously back and forth. "In here," the ladies called. They pointed to a corner where Mrs. Jumbo stood, blinking shyly. She watched as the stork placed a bundle in front of her. It fell open, revealing a beautiful little baby elephant. The baby looked around, blinked its eyes, and sneezed. Out flapped the biggest pair of ears anyone had ever seen. By the time the train reached the next town, everyone in the circus knew about the baby elephant with enormous ears. They nicknamed him Dumbo. It was nighttime when they arrived, and the circus crew went to work. When the sun rose the next morning, the tents were up, the music was playing, and the circus was ready for business. The crowd surged into the big top to see the show. They were not disappointed. They saw clowns. They saw lion tamers and tightrope walkers. And they saw a line of elephants walking in time to the music. At the end of the line was Dumbo. Struggling to keep up, the little elephant tripped on his ears again and again. After the show, the people didn't want to leave. Some children chased after the clowns. Others watched the elephants walk. To their pen. Dumbo, who was falling along behind, once again stepped on his ears and tripped. "Look at these ears," said one boy, and he began pulling on Dumbo's ears. Mrs. Jumbo picked up the boy with her trunk and scolded him. "Mad elephant," someone shouted. Before Mrs. Jumbo knew what was happening, she had been captured by the ringmaster and locked up in a circus wagon. Dumbo sat outside crying. The lady elephants walked by shaking their heads. "It's all Dumbo's fault," they said. "Him and his silly-looking ears. What's wrong with his ears? Someone asked, chuckling. I think they're cute. Dumbo looked around and saw Timothy the circus mouse sitting on a bag of peanuts. Don't worry about those ladies, said Timothy. I'll fix them. As the elephants walked, by again, he darted out among them. A mouse, they shrieked, thundering off in a panic. Timothy chuckled and offered Dumbo a peanut. Those ears of yours give me an idea, he said. That night, Timothy sneaked into the ringmaster's tent and whispered in the sleeping man's ear. When the ringmaster woke up, he exclaimed, "What an idea!" The next day, the crowds came once again to hear the music and see the clowns. The ringmaster cried, "Ladies and gentlemen, today we will build a pyramid of elephants, and springboarding to the top will be the world's smallest elephant, Dumbo." Into the ring the elephants walked. They formed a living pyramid. Then, at the ringmaster's signal, Dumbo ran toward the springboard. Just as he got there, he tripped on his ears and crashed into the pyramid. The elephants went flying everywhere, bringing down the big top and ruining the performance. After the show, the bruised and battered elephants walked about the grounds, helping the workers pack up the tents. Everything was loaded onto the train. And the circus limped out of town. When the show opened in the next city, Dumbo was given the worst punishment a proud elephant could ever receive. He was dressed up as a clown. Then, to the sound of circus music, he had to stand at the top of a burning building with a rattle in his mouth and jump into a tub of water. The crowd loved it, but the elephants didn't. Clucking their tongues, they turned their backs on Dumbo, and off they walked. That night, Dumbo and Timothy watched sadly as the clowns celebrated the success of their new act. "You're a big hit, kiddo," Timothy chuckled, trying to cheer up the little elephant, but both of them knew better. They went to see Mrs. Jumbo, who was still locked up. Dumbo curled up in his mother's trunk, and she sang him a lullaby. He fell asleep and dreamed of pink elephants walking in a parade. When Dumbo woke up the next morning, he heard someone laughing. He opened his eyes and saw 5 crows perched on a tree branch. The strange thing was that Dumbo and Timothy were in the tree with them. Startled, Dumbo lost his balance, falling out of the tree and into a pool of water. The crows howled with laughter. Timothy scratched his head. "How did we get up into a tree?" he asked suddenly. It hit him. "Dumbo, your ears." They're perfect wings. We flew up. Timothy chuckled with glee. You're going to be famous, Dumbo the flying elephant. The crows just laughed. And laughed. Dumbo didn't believe he could fly. Realizing this, one of the crows handed him a feather. The crow winked at Timothy, saying, "This is a magic feather. Whoever holds it can fly." Grasping the feather with his trunk, Dumbo flapped his ears. Sure enough, he and Timothy went zooming into the air. Through the clouds and over the trees and houses they flew. Timothy waved to the crows. "So long," he called. "Thanks for everything." The crows laughed and waved as Dumbo zoomed back to the circus, holding tightly to his magic feather. That night, the big top was crowded with people as the music played. The clowns began their act with the burning building, but this time the building was higher. It towered overhead, and at the very top stood Dumbo. Timothy, perched in his hat, said, "Okay, Dumbo, hang on to your magic feather." But as Dumbo jumped, the feather slipped out of his trunk and fluttered away. Dumbo and Timothy plunged towards the ground. "Dumbo, it wasn't magic," Timothy said. "You can fly. Come on, get those ears moving." Just as they were about to hit the ground, Dumbo tried flapping his ears, and away they zoomed. They flew past the clowns, around the big top, and over the cheering crowd. By the time that they landed, the circus had a new star. But all Dumbo could think about was a locked wagon behind the big top. The ringmaster opened the door, and the little elephant went rushing to his mother. As he did, he stepped on his ears and tripped. This time, it didn't bother him a bit. The end.